Hello, and welcome to another Unitrends Power Half Hour. We've been successfully doing this technical deep dive webinar for the last year. We'll give it another 2 minutes before we get started with our technical deep dive, so I'll see you in 2 minutes. All right, we're ready to go. My name is Max Francisco, and I'm a customer marketing manager here at Unitrends. Today's Power Half Hour is presented by Shyam Oza, our Director of Product Management, and we are going to be reviewing the new Unitrends Cloud Backup. This new tool is a way to protect the data of the on-the-go workforce or customers with simple, secure cloud backup. Before we get started, the regular housekeeping, feel free to send us your questions at any time. We'll try to get them answered as we go, or just use the Q&A box in the WebEx control panel. So we'll have the Q&A session as well towards the end. So with that, I'll pass it on to Shyam so he can go ahead and show us the Unitrends Cloud Backup.
All right, thank you very much, Max. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be joining us from in the world today. I'm excited to talk to you about this new product. It is an addition to our portfolio. So some of you may have used Unitrends products in the past. Some of you may be using Unitrends products today. And Unitrends Cloud Backup is really a solution to bolster that portfolio. We announced it back at Connect IT in 2019. We have a set of open APIs for use with many enterprise and MSP partners. There are over 300 organizations now using the backend technology that powers Unitrends Cloud Backup. And the exclusive preview version 1.2 with all the latest and greatest will be deployed next week for use with coupled with any endpoint management solution or using it out of the box. So first of all, let's level set. What is Unitrends Cloud Backup? It is a backup technology that allows us to take files and folders directly to the cloud without an appliance, without any steps or anything else in between. It's straight from your road warriors, whether they're sales guys, marketing folks, whoever they might be out in the field, from their laptops and workstations straight into the Unitrends cloud that you use for other backup and recovery purposes today. It is fantastic for devices where you are more worried about the content on the machine rather than the application, the configurations, and everything else. And it's also typically for devices where you have room for a longer recovery time objective. What Unitrends Cloud Backup is not, and this is primarily because it's a complementary solution, it is not meant to replace a local on-prem backup solution. It is not a file sync and share solution like OneDrive for Business or Google Drive. It is not tailored for application servers, bare metal recovery, or any kind of high availability or disaster recovery scenario. So why is this an important tool? Why should you care about protecting endpoints when, until now, you've only been talking about protecting your business critical servers? Well, what we've seen is that 1 in 10 devices, will be lost or stolen in its lifetime. I've personally lost a laptop in the last 10 years in my professional career, and it was not a good thing when it came to talking to my IT department about what to do. And that's because there are huge risks involved, right? You could spend almost $47,000 or more. This is just the average of a business disruption, data loss, or compliance penalties that you might face because of that lost asset. And so you're losing money, in a direct cost, and you can have an indirect cost per incident, and this incident could be each individual file that you've lost, where you're losing almost close to $600 because you're losing productivity from the actual worker and IT because they're answering support tickets, trying to locate files, and get this business user up and running rather than deploying the latest updates, conducting user training, looking for new cool tools and solutions out there to streamline your business. So what we really like about this is this completes the solution and allows you to get a complete backup and recovery or data protection strategy from a single vendor. So if you've got a large SharePoint environment, lots of application servers out there, we have the solutions for you, the tried and true Unitrends products. If you've got a virtualized environment, we have products and solutions for that. You might be using them today. And what this does is really round things off and give you a solution to protect those business critical files and folders while you're not really worried about the apps, the configuration, and everything else on those laptops. So think about it this way. When you're thinking about what solution to choose, let's think of your actual scenario, right? And in this case, if you've got 50 Windows servers and you're running Active Directory, SQL, and all these various applications, you want to use our all-in-one hardware or our virtual appliances. But if you've got, in addition to that, 120 Windows laptops and maybe a tiny little file server where a lot of people are collaborating on design documents or other media, then you have the perfect solution in Unitrends Cloud Backup, because this is what is critical to your business. This is what we are optimized to protect with this specific tool. And in many scenarios, it's very likely that you'll need both. And so definitely talk to your technical team, talk to your account managers about what the ideal mix looks like. In some cases, you might lean heavily towards Unitrends Cloud Backup. In others, you might lean heavily towards an appliance. And in some scenarios, you might have a nice hybrid workload. And our team will be the best to advise you on what the best approach there is. Think of other simple qualifying questions, right? Do you need local backups? Are there Windows machines? How much data you have? What applications you're running? And how fast they need to be recovered? Because if you have the answers to these questions, then not only can you map very easily your needs to a Unitrends product, but we can also talk about how to make that strategy happen. You define your goals first, and it's not just about picking products and solutions out there, but it's about making sure things are configured and prioritized so you can actually hit those targets in the event of an incident. A lot of times people ask qualifying questions, just to match you up with the right product and sell you on it, rather than actually incorporate that into your overall recovery strategy. So these questions aren't just important for our field, but these are questions that are important for you when you're shaping or modifying your data protection strategy. Now, in this new world, another question that we've seen come up is, do I need to protect laptops that already have data synced with the cloud? OneDrive, Google Drive. Here's the problem. Those synchronization events have to happen. There are many times, whether it's due to invalid versions, improper configuration by the end user, they put them into a file or folder location that isn't actually mapped and synchronized. You won't be able to protect that data. It really requires good governance on the part of all your users. Do you trust your users to put things in exactly the right place and in order to make sure that it's always synchronized? In addition to that, you're not invulnerable from ransomware or crypto virus scenarios. One example that we've seen with our customers in the field, live in real life, is a scenario where a customer's laptop was infected, and then that file was also synchronized up to the cloud. So the only good copy that they had of that file was in their backup, because that was the only one that wasn't encrypted. And they were able to roll back to a unencrypted version of the document, whereas the encrypted file was synced to OneDrive and the encrypted file was sitting there on their desktop machine. So one of the main reasons you want to think about protecting your laptops and devices is that it's typically not hardware failure or other malicious actors directly getting in between you and your data, but it's usually user error and a lack or failure to follow standard governance policies when it comes to your information and content. And software or cloud sync and share is not going to protect you in the event of those incidents. You need a data protection strategy for that. And another thing that we really like about this is not only do we want to streamline what the product protects, but it should be very, very simple for you to think about how it's protected and whether or not you're covered. One of the things that drives people nuts is, well, what if I've got 5 gigs of data today, 10 gigs tomorrow, 100 gigs after that, and then I go back down to 50 gigs? How do I plan that out when it comes to costs? How do I plan that out when it comes to capacity and thinking about my long-term projections for storage? Nobody wants to deal with that. And one of the things that we believe in is simplicity and introducing predictability into your pricing. So direct-to-cloud backup isn't just simple from a product and infrastructure standpoint, but it's simple from a pricing model standpoint. And right now, while we're in restricted preview, and all of you guys have access to these preview prices and access to the tool, we will have a 50% discount for anyone who onboards into the preview program before the end of the month. And our license protects up to 1 terabyte of data on every protected asset or laptop with at least 30 days of retention to start. So what that means is if you've got a bunch of employees in the graphics department or design department, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of gigs of data, their solutions are going to be protected. And if you've got users who are just standard information workers, but they might have unpredictable growth before they go to a conference or before they get ready for a big show, you don't have to think about that fluctuation. If there's less than a terabyte on any one of those devices, all of it is protected at all times, and you don't need to think about it. Now, when it comes to servers, we also have pricing for long-term storage of files and folders from simple media servers that you might have for collaboration purposes. So we have a pricing model for those large buckets of simple blob data that you might have as well. And what's really important is a lot of times when people hear words like preview, this is a new product, they're worried that there's going to be a lot of missing underlying functionality. But what's actually happening is this is an evolution of our existing technology. We're building on that historical foundation of being able to provide enterprise grade backup, being resilient, being able to back up to multiple locations, having that 1 hour spin up time. All of that technology is still baked into this product. So we still use the Windows file agent that we've been deploying to other customer environments. We have the data centers that are run by our team that are compliant, that have their uptime and proven SLAs all over the world, and they're still available to this product like they are for our standard appliances and virtual appliances. Updates are a lot simpler. This is one of the benefits of growing up, getting a lot simpler, right? This is actually a SaaS-based product with on-prem agents. And what that means is when we roll out a new feature, you don't have to worry about downloading a new version. You don't have to worry about updating drivers or whatever it might be on your end. You'll log in one day and a whole bunch of new features, whether it's a cool new dashboard, new backup and recovery options, will just appear and be available to you without you having to do any kind of manual intervention. And we really mean it when it comes to simplicity, not just in the pricing, not just in the architecture, but even in the product itself. So what we do is we streamline everything. You don't have complex calendars. You don't have to set up, and manage your storage devices or, your retention policies or how you want to tier your storage or whether you want it to go to this type of disk or a different kind of disk. You just have to worry about the SLA. You have to worry about the asset that you want to protect, and we take care of everything else from that point on. Most of the time, the configuration that customers do is to exclude things from their backup, and everything else is kind of a set it and forget it mentality. So before I jump into the product, I do want to talk to you a little bit about what else is coming down the road. We're going to currently be available here in the US, but we're also rolling out all over the world in our UK, Canada, our EMEA, and APAC data center regions. We know that information workers don't just use Windows devices, so we'll be introducing Mac OS support. We're going to be looking at ransomware detection and prevention technology, bringing that over from our legacy products or our current products. We will also be adding additional flexibility. People still want control over their data. Maybe you don't want all the data stored in the Unitrends cloud. We will give you the option of bringing your own cloud storage, with Amazon S3 being our top priority to ship. We will also have seamless integration with the Unitrends backup portal. So the idea is to have one backup interface to rule them all. And so if you're using multiple products, you will have a single interface with which you can initiate a recovery, whether it's to a laptop or you're bringing up a business critical app server. We're also looking at further improving things like throttling or quality of service for low latency scenarios. We're also going to be introducing more aggressive SLAs. Today, we have a daily granular backup SLA, and we'll be introducing 4-hour, 8-hour, and 12-hour options this year. And not only do we have hundreds of organizations using our API to power their solutions today, but we will be making the API publicly available to you so that as you scale and mature as an organization, or you start to manage multiple organizations, you can very quickly, roll out the agent to devices, trigger backup plans, and update them in bulk, or to quickly trigger an export or a restore based on your needs. So let's actually take a look at this. As you can see here, I'm running this in my browser. This is my desktop machine at home. I'm not logged in via a VPN to work. I'm not accessing this, on a virtual machine and I'm just viewing it in the browser. Nope, this is right there on the web, and this is the interface that most of you will have access to. It is a very simple product. We really look at three core steps. You deploy agents to your assets, and what we do today is you just download a PowerShell script, you execute that PowerShell script on your machine, and the reason this is important is it builds the relationship between your cloud-based tenant, your manager, and the on-prem device that's being protected. It's a very simple agent that gets installed. I can actually show you right here. And we have our Unitrends agent deployed to this machine. And once the pairing is complete, any of these devices can be seen in your assets directory. So for example, this machine that I have here is right here. We've been successfully performing backups, and the last time I phoned home was today. When I'm actually setting up a backup, we by default include everything. So you don't have to worry about a lot of configuration. So for example, when I actually go in to create a backup policy, I'm typically only doing that to include or exclude certain scopes. So for the purposes of this demo, I want to back up a very specific folder. But if you think about it, if you have a lot of information workers or remote workers, and you have a bring your own device policy, or you might be allowing them to use their devices for a mix of personal use and business use, or there just might be privacy concerns. You have the ability to add further restrictions for what gets backed up, but you will not be punished or penalized for trying to back up everything. So being safe isn't something we punish you for. The only time you really have to spend time with granular configurations and settings is when you want to explicitly include or exclude content. Whenever that data is being backed up, you can view all of the backup information for that device and any other statuses. So I can see where things have succeeded, where they failed, where they might be in progress. And of course, the most important thing, I can execute a recovery. And recoveries are very, very simple as well. I simply go into my recovery tab. I locate the device that I want to perform a restore from or to. This is my desktop that we're doing the demo on. I can see here that I have a historical backup, and any other historical backup that I ran would be here, and I can go and revisit that. So for example, if we had a ransomware incident today, we can go back to yesterday, the day before that, the week, the month, whatever we want. Once I'm in, I have the ability, again, to be very simple and restore everything I want, or drill down and be very specific or granular. So for example, I could go in and say, well, I just want to bring back these PowerPoint presentations and nothing else. Hit next. And the reason we provide this recovery path, imagine a couple different scenarios. I may have lost this machine. I could now be working on a brand new machine and I want to restore my content to it. So I can very easily go in and say, well, I want to restore to this new test folder here. So I specify my recovery path. Oh, there you go. I have to select my source. And then it kicks off the restore process right away. There's nothing else that you have to worry about. You let the process finish and complete. Also, if you are managing multiple organizations or you're an MSP provider and you're managing multiple customers, this product already has the ability to support multi-tenancy. So if you want to provide granular services to different business units, or you have a number of different clients that are in need of backup and recovery services, you can actually manage all of these individuals from a single interface, whether you want to provide backups for your US team and your EMEA team, or your customers, down the street. And all of this is happening in real time. So if I actually go to my recovery status, I can see here that it's still pending. And I can even see here, though, that things have changed. Oops. It looks like the restore is still happening. Bear with me for just 1 second. And this is how you know we're talking about the real thing. We're doing this live. We'll just let that process finish. And while that's happening really quick, I can just show you a couple other features. So we have obviously basic dashboarding capabilities. You can see which of your machines has been phoning home, which ones haven't. We have the ability to calculate an overall health score. You have the ability to manage your customers, and you have the ability to manage your assets, temporarily disable or enable backups, or download a new installer and PowerShell script to either start protecting the device that you're logged in on, or to perform a bulk installation with the RMM tool of your choice. So whether you're using the VSA, SolarWinds, ServiceNow, or some in-house solution, you can execute this PowerShell script with the embedded token and kind of programmatically push this out to a bunch of different devices. Okay. And there we go. So we can see here from my Unitrends folder, all of my PowerPoint presentations are back. And we can see that it was a granular restore. This is the source data that it came from. And I didn't want to restore my pretty little face. And so that's all I got in the restore. So you can be as granular as you want, or you can be as complete and high fidelity as you want. So thank you so much for attending this webinar. I would like to remind you again that during this exclusive preview, we have a huge sale going on. So if you have an account manager that you're already in talks with, please reach out to them if this solution makes sense for inclusion in your portfolio. And obviously, if you have more questions and you want to see and make sure it's the right fit, give us a call, visit us on the web. And now I will turn it over for our Q&A.
Perfect. This is awesome, Shian. Thank you very much for that demo. We do have a few questions here already, and just reminding everybody, if you have any questions, go ahead and and just type them on the Q&A box. So one of the questions that we do have is, where is the data stored today?
Yes. So today, by default, we write to the U.S. data centers that are managed by Unitrends. We have one here on the East Coast, I believe in Georgia, and another one in Colorado. I will have to double check. But they are both physically located within the continental United States. And at the end of this month, we will begin rolling out throughout April availability in all of our other data center regions. So London, Dublin, we will have multiple locations in APAC to cover Australia and NZ, as well as our mainland Asia customers. And Canada. Can't forget about our neighbors up north.
Perfect. Yeah, and actually our next webinar is a roadmap webinar where we'll be discussing these new improvements in the product and what else is coming down the pipe. So that's great. The other question we have here is, how do you handle remote workers with low bandwidth?
That's a great one. So basically, when you look at the backup and recovery of large applications, you're dealing with a large set of data, and you're typically taking large snapshots. With this tool, one of the things that we do is we are completely optimized for that granular backup. We only want to transmit the deltas, and we only want to have the agent communicating over the internet as little as possible. So the product today is already baked in with a lot of optimizations to reduce the amount of data that's sent up to the cloud. Whether that's going to, it's going to reduce consumption of your corporate network, or it's going to help complete those backups successfully when your workers are actually traveling on the road. And on the roadmap, we will actually be implementing the ability for us to be more compatible with quality of service rules down to the individual protected asset. So that'll give you even more power and control over backup throttling and things like that.
Perfect. So granularity is the key here. We do have a last question, and it is, what if I want to protect application servers and large file servers? How does this work with that?
Gotcha. So in this case, and this is where you want to be very careful, and those qualifying questions are important. Really think about your environment and scenario and what it's used for before making the final decision. So typically, this product is focused on laptops, assets, personal devices. But there are some scenarios where something could traditionally be called a server. File shares is a great example. People in the medical field, large design studios and creative agencies, they've just got to have a place where they put all their files. And so if you've got a very large file server, that is an ideal use case for Unitrends Cloud Backup because, again, we're backing up files and folders. But if you're backing up a business critical application, we highly recommend you look at the other tools that we have in our portfolio that will give you a lot more fidelity and way, way better SLAs.
Perfect. Yeah. So we do have a comment from from Nick saying that it's very informative. This was a very informative session, and how he mentions how simple the product is. So with that, I would like to thank you, Shian, for your time, and thank everybody for participating with us. We will be back soon with another Power Half Hour. So yeah, thank you, Shian. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for your time today. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.